Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 2 out of 2 games between Inhari and Scholar in round 4 of the second European tournament. Today we are going to be seeing Odon River, and on the allied side Inhari has chosen the 4th Armoured, and on the Axis side Scholar has chosen the 3rd Fallschirmjager. Now the Fallschirmjager are actually really good on this map. They have proven it time and time again under the command of the likes of Vohati and other great players. So hopefully Scholar can replicate that and bring himself victory in this one, because the Fallschirmjagers really work well at the ranges presented on this map. It's always an engagement that's just over the 100-meter range between these tree lines, and that suits the machine guns that the Fallschirmjagers have really well. They also gain access to a lot of decent support units that work best at about the 500-meter range, especially things like the Puption, and then other things like the Pak 41s with their really good veterancy can be so damn effective at close range because they fire really quickly and they have that veterancy that allows them to be accurate off the bat. So that's something that I hope Scholar takes advantage of. On the side of the 4th Armoured, this is actually a relatively difficult map because you have to find a bridgehead amongst one of these bridges. So there's one on the bottom, you got the double in the mid, and then the one on the top. And yeah, bridgehead has to occur in order for you to make ground. And that can generally be done by things like the M8 cavalries that we can see that Inhari is going to use, and as well as the Bantams and also the M21 mortar carriers. Now I'm surprised to see an M21 mortar carrier. Often these days people prefer to use the M4A1 OPs with the off map, just because it's a lot more effective at pinning down areas quickly than the mortar is, which allows you to make such breakthroughs that you need. But either way, M21 can do the same job as long as you have the recon or infantry to support or find the units that you need to attack. On this top side, it's going to be double M8 cavalry with the M21, but there is no recon, so that may cause issues. There is 2 rifles here with the command infantry. There's actually going to be a 3rd M8 cavalry on that top side. Very heavy deployment for Inhari. On the bottom side, it's just going to be the WC-52 with the cavalry scouts and the M8 cavalry for the bottom side. So it looks like a strong top side push here, maybe going for the double bridge early on, create that bridgehead, and then push on through, because if, like say Abrams gets to here at the start of the game, or in phase A at least, it can cover the reinforcing road coming down past these trees, and that can definitely leave Inhari in a very good position moving into phase B and C. Because in phase B they go up to 130 points per minute, which is something you can definitely exploit against the 3rd Fallschirmjager. On the side of Scholar, it's going to be 2 Fallschirmjager for the top side with the Fallschirmführer. Then further down we see 2 more Fallschirmjager with the Fallschirmführer and the Pak 41 Gerlich with the MG. And then on the bottom side it's going to be an MG, the Pak 41 Gerlich, the Fallschirmjager and the Fallschirmführer. So pretty standard deployment from Scholar, relying quite heavily on the Fallschirmjagers, but leaving a huge gap in his front line here. Which could create a big salient if nothing is done about that. Okay, looks like one of these units is going to be heading that direction. Looks like the Pak 41 Gerlich. Interesting position to put it, that's for sure. I really like Scholar's positioning of AT guns. It's very unconventional and can definitely catch out his opponent. If he gets the Pak 41 down here, for example, and leaves it in the edge of this tree line, he can cover this section of road. It's not the best section of road because especially units like M8 cavalries can just zoom past it really quickly. But yeah, Inhari is definitely going for this strong push, but it's straight into the line of Scholar. And Scholar's not really going to have time to get all of his troops into position. He's going to have nothing defending this top side with the aggression coming in the mid here. This is really interesting because usually the forces have to come down the mid here and then head up. But because of the aggression, Scholar's been forced to unload all of his units in the same place, which is really bad news because an M21 mortar carrier is firing at him and pinning down all of these Fallschirmjagers as well as the Fallschirmführers, and this could lead to mass surrender. This M8 cavalry just decides to go ham and drive into these forces now. That could just be devastating, and it looks like Inhari is going to go for it. He is going to go for it. Can he surrender all of these units? He has surrendered one unit of Fallschirmjagers. He's not surrendering the rest though. I'm actually surprised that he hasn't surrendered the rest. Maybe it's because he didn't find the Fallschirmjäger there. So technically they're still providing command. Well, Fallschirmjäger going to get the Panzerfaust off. In my opinion, that should have just been a mass rout. But as long as he can kill the Pak 41 Gallic, he should still be able to make this work. Just got to get that M21 mortar carrier on target again and then just drive back in and surrender more units. This M8 should be able to recover itself some morale. If it kills the Kubel MG, it can get back this front line. This M8 cavalry can come back down from the top side, which is good. But just in general, it looks like Scholar is really in trouble on the top side. But on the bottom side, Pak 41 did manage to take out the M8. So just a unit of cavalry scouts and the WC-52 holding the bottom side, which may allow Scholar to get his way into this town, which would be really, really nice for him. And then he can just constantly reinforce that, making life difficult for Inhari. So this is really interesting. The M8 cavalry really needs to take out the Kubel MG because it is causing issues. Also the 81mm mortar. That's starting to try and pin the M8 as well, to allow the Kubel to find the surrender. This cavalry on the top side though, that really needs to get a move on, because L6s are on the way. I'm surprised this Kubel MG hasn't been killed yet. I am really, really surprised. It's really bad news for Inhari, because it has actually pinned down his M8 cavalry quite badly, and now the L6 is going to come in and finish the job most likely. That's going to be a crew wound. M8 cavalry really has nowhere to run, and that's a problem. Either way, it does look like Inhari's infantry got killed off here quite easily by these Fallschirmjägers. But mortar fire is still coming in, so the combat effectiveness of these Fallschirmjägers isn't ideal. Fallschirmjäger on the top side, they're going to get killed off. The Fallschirmjäger are going to try and run down the M8 cavalry to get the Panzerfaust on target, but as soon as they're pinned, Inhari can just fast move towards them and finish them off. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Inhari has reinforced with a bunch of armoured LMG rifles, and that leaves these Fallschirmjäger in a bit of a tough spot because they can't really push into that very well. Right, M8's now going to be engaging the 81mm mortar. L6 is going to finish off this M8 cavalry. And honestly, I think Inhari may have missed the trick here. He had a huge opportunity to just get a massive bridgehead through this town early on, and somehow managed to screw it up. Really unfortunate. Either way, he has got a bridgehead on the very top side, which he can use quite well, especially considering it has the orchard here, which allows you to manage the engagement range of certain units. But yeah, M4 Abrams would be the way to go right now. Just bring in Abrams to this top side, kill off these L6s. That's what you need to do. And then that opens up the opportunity to push in the Fallschirmjägers again. Because at the moment, these Fallschirmjägers entrenched in this town are going to do a ton of damage to any infantry that tries to push. On the bottom side, a Hellcat was brought in. I'm not entirely sure what the use of this Hellcat is. It's in a pretty dodgy position, and there isn't really any targets for it. However, considering it's a Hellcat, you could actually fast move it very quickly to the top side, which may be a way to deal with the L6, especially considering it is sitting in line of sight there. And the L6 only has like 800 meter range, so as long as you remain outside of that, a Hellcat will be absolutely fine to take them on, regardless of the fact it only has 4 armor. So this M8, it is getting advanced upon by the L6 here. Can the M8 get the kill? No, it cannot. L6 is going to get the track wheel damage, finds the kill. Nicely done there. These little L6s with their 35mm gun. Job done. Not sure if that is actually a 35mm. No, it's a 20mm. It's just called the Breda 35. Anyway, Fallschirmjägers continuing to hit these rifles very hard. Now the armoured leader, they're going to open up with their M1 Garand, and well, that was bad news. He really didn't have to do that. should have been on reserve fire really, as losing that command now allows these units to be surrendered. On the side of Scholar though, his Fallschirmjager do get killed off. There is a second squad of Fallschirmjager here, so it's not the end of the world. But I am just incredibly surprised how well Scholar has managed to survive this. It mainly comes down to Inhari's mistakes, in my opinion, than Scholar's plays himself. But he did a good job of bringing in these L6s and killing off those M8s that were left stranded. But that is no fault other than Inhari's, really. So now Abrams on the way. It's going to be pushing to the topside bridge, but this is now a risky business, because if these Fallschirmjäger get into position and the M4 tries to push across without infantry support, it's just going to end really, really badly. So currently Scholar is sitting on the +1, which is a nice place to be for the Fallschirmjäger in Phase A, honestly, because in Phase B they can reinforce with some extra strong infantry like the Fallschirm Pioneers and so on, so any entrenched position becomes even harder to take care of, especially when Inhari is relying on M21s as opposed to off-map. And this L6 though, that's gone for a push. It's going to get track wheel destroyed. Abrams just going to be shrugging off those shots from the L6. Job done. L6 down. But Fallschirmjägers getting into position. Nice to see that Scholar has reinforced himself with recon here, so that he can see any rifles that do head towards him. But I'm really not liking this play from Inhari. This is just so risky. He's allowing his Abrams to get into enemy territory without the support of any infantry or recon. It's just really, really bad. Now the Fallschirmjäger are going to come into the tree line there, just score an easy kill with the Panzerfaust, surely. Job done. So, what a waste. What an absolute waste. It also looks like on this bottom side the Hellcat was taken care of. Looks like the Pak 41 Gallic took that out before it got killed itself. And Inhari is just making the same mistakes that Scholar made in the first game, and that is losing his tanks too easily. Just being very, very careless with them. Maybe he was frustrated that he didn't manage to make the breakthrough here, but at the same time, there's no reason to really suicide your tanks like that. Now the Hellcat has come into this position, hits the L6. That was the line of sight I was actually pointing out earlier on. The L6 is cooperating with Inhari quite nicely, actually. Reversing right in line of sight. The Hellcat's going to have to deal with the Flak 38, because otherwise it might end up pinning it down. That's a nice kill onto the anti-air there. Anti-air was in a bit of a weird position, if I'm honest. Looks like Scholar may be going to invest in a HS-129. That would be quite cool. I could maybe kill off the M18 and the M21 before AA starts to arrive. There's one thing that the 4th Armoured could do is just invest in the CGMCs and the MGMCs. And those would be more than enough to take care of the majority of Scholar's infantry. Scholar once again not using attack move, just using normal move commands, and very, very careless. Allows his Panzerschreck to get killed when the M3A1 should have been the one to die, especially in the face of a Panzerschreck. Fallschirmjäger do manage to take out one of the half-tracks here, but the armoured LMG rifle was pinned down pretty much immediately in the face of the Flak 38. So +2 for Scholar, and regardless of the fact that he should probably have lost the game already, he has recovered very, very well. Mainly thanks to Inhari's plays. So now Fallschirmjäger taking on armoured LMG rifles. At this sort of range, the Fallschirmjäger actually have an advantage with the 6HE, which is not something you see very often, but due to the numbers difference here, I think the armoured LMG rifles will still win out. Mortars on the side of Scholar. They're managing to pin down those rifles, and the other rifle squad that was there has now been taken out. More reinforcements coming into the bottom side for Scholar, but pushing into a town here is not the best idea, unless Inhari pushes out himself, which may be a bit greedy, if I'm honest. Fallschirmjäger is still alive as they're taking on the armoured LMG rifles. See the LMG rifles actually slowly but surely getting themselves pinned down, but here we have the Fallschirmjägers arriving, running through the forest there. They should finish them off, that's for sure. Nice clean surrender, just as the Fallschirmjäger go down. Now B-26B Marauder coming in. It's going to pin the Fallschirmjäger, that's for sure. They can now come under fire from the Flak 38. With that Flak 38 in pretty dodgy position, to say the least. Not sure why Scholar feels like he needs to put these Flak 38s really far up on the front line, especially when the Fallschirmjägers can generally fend for themselves in pinning down enemy infantry. It's not like he has really weak infantry and he needs to use the AA as ground support, because his own infantry is strong enough as it is. This is a very weak play here though from Scholar. There is a lot of opportunities for surrenders here. Fortunately, the Panzerschreck going to save the day. And these Fallschirmjägers wouldn't have surrendered because the Fallschirmführer is here. But still, this is really, really risky, and there's no point in losing men in these squads by running them in the open. Again, just very careless. Now the mortar carrier is going to be getting involved. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Fallschirm Pioneers, they're going to find the infantry down here. They get a clean surrender there. Very nice. Now going to be pushing on to the armoured LMG rifles. B-26B Marauder coming in with the strafing run. Going to help those armoured LMG rifles out. More infantry reinforcement coming into the top side. Since we are in Phase B, the 3rd Fallschirmjäger do have a lot of infantry availability. But I'm just worried about how Scholar is using his infantry currently. It seems as though he is starting to get very careless, and it may cost him quite dramatically as he runs out of availability in the late game. But really nice kill there for the Pak 38, takes out the Hellcat. Now Engineer's going to be trying to engage Fallschirmjägers. Fallschirmjägers, if they get pinned, they will be surrendered because the Fallschirmführer is dead. The Engineers themselves are going to find themselves surrendered as the Fallschirmjäger get the the upper hand. Fallschirm Speertroop, they're going to come in, try and get the job done. They do have quite a lot of HE, 9 HE there, that they can use at the 100 meter range. It's not the worst units to get involved, but the armoured rifles and engineers, they're going to get rid of 1 unit of Fallschirmjägers, and now this Fallschirm Speertroop are on their own. Meanwhile, on the bottom, looks like the B-26B allowed Inhari to get the better of 2 squads of Fallschirm Pioneers and a squad of Fallschirmjägers, which is not something you see very often. So nicely managed on the bottom side there by Inhari. Now we're going to see a Bantam come to the top side with an M5A1 Stuart. The armoured rifles here again, just getting the better of Fallschirmjägers with the help of the M21 mortar. Interesting stuff. But yeah, not the most overwhelming plays. Very underwhelming, if I'm honest. It just seems as though both players are making mistakes and then being punished for those, as opposed to making plays which gain them an advantage. However, Scholar is going to be making a push on this double bridge now, abandoning his entrenched positions and just pushing forwards with the 2 units of Fallschirmjägers he has here. His L6 is going to be looking for the kill onto the M21, and this would be a nice play to make for sure if he can make it work. Does find the internal fragments, gets rid of the 50 cal and the mortar ammunition there, and cleans that up. The M4A1 was not in the right position, and M8 cavalry is on its way and may be able to help out. But the Bantam there, that's going to clean up the Pak 38. The Fallschirm Pioneers are pushing on to the armoured rifles. That's going to take them out. Nice job indeed. On the bottom side, all of the units that were here, the Fallschirm Panzerschreck and the MG, they've been taken out. And now it's just 2 units of Fallschirm Pioneers standing in the way of these forces. And these armoured LMG rifles, they have a really good position there because they can utilise the 400 meter range with the 8HG on those 30 cals to just hold that line back. Meanwhile, on this top side though, Scholar has managed to make quite a lot of ground, walking back into these trees once again. Sharpshoots are helping pin down the engineers. The Fallschirmjägers Could very easily run them down, I feel. The M8 cavalry, of course, in position. This is where an AT gun would come in handy. Scholar's got to be very careful that he doesn't have these Falchion Pioneer too close to the edge of the tree line here, because as soon as they do come to the edge of the tree line, because there's the Bantam with the recon, they just get absolutely demolished. You can see how many men they lost very quickly there due to the 30 cows of the M5A1 and the Bantam. These Falchion Pioneers, they're going to get hit by the armoured rifles and M3 half-track. They're going to go down. Fallschirmjager tried to get close to the M8 cavalry, but find themselves on the wrong end of that 30 cal and 50 cal. Mismanagement once again from the infantry there is going to cost Scholar greatly, and that's a surrender onto one of the Falchion Pioneers. If he spots the second Falchion Pioneer, I'm sure he will get that surrender as well. The Fallschirmjagers, he's just got to be a little bit patient here, and then he can continue. Inhari might make back quite a lot of ground here on this bottom side if he continues the way he's going with this M8. Very, very interesting. Just to keep an eye on the whole map here, because just mistakes being made all over the place. Like, why is this M8 this close to a Fallschirm Panzerschreck without recon? I do not know. But either way, M8 has managed to zoom through on the bottom side. Fallschirm Pioneers do find themselves surrendered. MG's gone down. Fallschirmjagers are now being ran down as well by the M8 cavalry. And as soon as they are gone, that's going to open up this bottom side of the map an absolute ton for Inhari, giving him the advantage in this game. Scholar's currently on 739 points, and I don't think he's done too badly to recover from the position that he was in, but this 380mm off map is getting dangerously close to the front line, and he's going to bring in an emergency off map, which is probably not the best choice against the units he's up against. The only way that this 380mm off map will do well here is if it somehow randomly gets a direct hit onto the M18 Hellcat, which is open top. Those Fallschirmjagers though, they're going to get taken out. Let's see where this off map actually lands. E26B Marauder going to come in, has line of sight onto the 81mm. Pack 38 unloads. Can that find the kill? Weapon jam is good enough for now. But the M18 Hellcat, I was going to say, was going to get out of the way of the off map, instead gets killed off by the Pack 38. E26B Marauder tries to get the strafing run in on there, but yeah, this off map really just not doing too much. I think it would be okay to do like a focused strike on this top side where the M5A1 is, because you can actually kill an M5A1 with that off map quite easily. Same with the Bantam. But an M4, not convinced. Yes, you can kill it with that off map, the 380mm off map. You can kill an M4 for sure, but it would take a couple hits at least. Now, once again, M8 Cavalry getting ahead of itself. Why Inhari is using these for recon, I do not know. Is that going to get the shot off? It's not. Scholar needed to micro that. He needed to give the right click on the M8 Cavalry there, because Fallschirmjager was struggling to get the Panzerfaust on target in time and do pay the price. There is now a Stug 3 on this bottom side that is going to try and hold the front line, but a bridgehead has formed here for Inhari that he can use to get reinforcements across if he's quick enough. Oh, nasty kill there though. The 380mm off map does go down, and that only got one strike off and it didn't kill anything, so really, really unfortunate. Fallschirm Panzerschreck, that must have hit the M4A1. Why was that Stuart still sitting in range? I do not know. More infantry gonna go down. Just how either player is getting away with this, I do not know. Fallschirm Panzer gonna come in and kill the M8 Cavalry at close range. That's quite simply due to the lack of recon on the side of Inhari. And this is where things like cavalry scouts come in really handy, because not only do they have the bazooka to kill off tanks, but they also have that recon capability that's really useful. Now armoured rifles, they're going to take 2 shots at the Stug. Stug goes down as well. Just both players throwing units into the fire. Just nothing coming out alive. It's just insane. Pack 38 now going to be taken on by these two M3 half-tracks. Those need to unload as soon as possible though, otherwise the armoured rifles will find themselves pinned. The sharpshoots are helping with that. M4A1 comes in with its 50 cal and its main gun, cleans up the Pak 38 now, got to clean up the sharpshooter. But that's a +2 for Inhari, almost a +3 with 65% territory lead, it would be a +3. B-26B Marauder still causing issues. This is something that I'm surprised Scholar has allowed to continue, because he does have access to 2-star ME-109s, and it would only take one of those to clean up a B-26B. And then that would also give him strafing opportunities onto things like the Bantam, onto the Engineers, onto armoured rifles, all that stuff. So I am very surprised to see this B-26B still flying around in the face of the 3rd Fallschirmjager. Now the Fallschirmjager do have 145 points per minute in phase C, so maybe that will give Scholar some sort of incentive to buy himself an aircraft, because I don't think there's any real reason in taking the 3rd Fallschirmjager if you're not going to use aircraft at some point in the game. Because it is really what makes them very strong, especially the 2-star ME-109s, the HS-129s, all that good stuff. And they're such great units against the 4th Armoured as well, which makes it even more confusing for me. Either way, 5 units of infantry are coming to the top side, 3 Fallschirm Pioneers, 2 Fallschirmjäger, no command. It's just waiting for a Bantam rush on the top side. Meanwhile on the bottom, we're going to see 3 more units of infantry. They're going to take out the command, which was ahead of the rest of the infantry. But there's still a little ways to go. It does depend on how this M3 half-track is used. This M3 half-track should be pinning these before they get into the tree line. And I've no idea why this Bantam and Stuart are sitting on this side of the river when they could otherwise be on the bottom side helping that bridgehead. Lots of questionable plays on either side from these two, but plenty to learn from, that's for sure. Bantam has just done so much damage to those infantry squads before they've even been affected themselves. And this was something I was really worried about with Scholar. Like, him throwing away infantry like this is just really, really bad. Like, armoured LMG rifles, they're going to get the better of the Fallschirm Pioneer. Again, Fallschirmjäger's not put on attack move. And so even though they were firing their guns, they are not accurate when they're running. So they just got surrendered very, very quickly. And I can't believe that 3 units of infantry like that just got thrown away. Like, if Scholar got those infantry units into this tree line, there is no reason why they should not win against armoured LMG rifles at that range. No reason whatsoever. Such a throwaway. Unbelievable. On the top side, Bantam still chewing up these guys. Fallschirmjäger's likely going to go down. This M4A1's just having a field day, mowing these guys down. M3A1 half-track does have the 50 cal as well. This armoured LMG rifle can take out the Fallschirm Pioneer at range. B-26B Marauder going to come in and try and strafe this, or last man, but doesn't manage to do so. On the bottom side now we see the P-38 Lightning, and there shouldn't be a reason why any of these aircraft can fly with impunity. It's kind of dumb. Too many half-tracks is going to force back this ME-109 now. And honestly, the B-26B could maybe go for the kill there. It might take a little while, but there's potential. P-38 Lightning comes in, bombs out the Fallschirm Panzer Abwehr and the Fallschirm Pioneer. So Stug 3 is going to try and push back, but is absolutely blind to the armoured rifles that are in position here. There is some command, but they need to be unloaded, so they actually provide those command stars. Again, these guys need to go somewhere. So does this M4A1. There's some very odd unit positioning, and just in general, I think Inhari's getting carried away with some of the micro on the top side here, especially trying to make a push through with the M3A1 and the Bantam, but it'd be 100 times easier if he actually used the units that he had at his disposal all in one go, as opposed to throwing them in little by little. P-38 now going to strafe the Fallschirmjager as well, and well, Scholar's defenses on the top side have completely crumbled. There is one Fallschirmjager left, one Fallschirmjäger. He's got the 2 mortars here which don't have any ammunition because the Kubel munitions ran out as well. On the bottom side is 2 Fallschirm Panzerabwehr and the Fallschirm Pioneer with the Stug, and that's pretty much it. That's all that's left. There is going to be a Stug brought in on the top side, but that's not going to present too much of a problem to things like Hellcats, especially if the Hellcats do get across the bridge here, because they can engage at the 1,200 meter range, whilst the Stug 3 only has 1,000 meter range. So it's up to Inhari to just walk forwards, quite simply. Maybe not on this top side, because the Fallschirmjägers are here. This requires some infantry recon or some just infantry in general to push through, and that is not being provided. Maybe Inhari's low on infantry availability at this point. I wouldn't be surprised. Both players have been throwing away units left, right and centre, but somehow Inhari's come out on top, regardless of the fact that he did lose absolutely tons of units early on. But I guess it's the beauty of the 4th Armoured in a lot of ways, is that so many of their units are very, very cost efficient that even if you do lose quite a lot in Phase A, you have plenty of opportunity to bring in more units in Phase B and C. So that's what Inhari has been sort of relying upon. Now on this top side, Fallschirmjager has taken out the half-track. It just took out the Bantam. This M4A1's in such a terrible position. Just be patient, Inhari. Let this M3 half-track that's decided to reverse up the road get into position, unload these infantry and push them through, kill that Fallschirmjager, and then have the M4 go round. It's as simple as that. On the bottom side, armoured LMG rifles engaging the Fallschirm Pioneers. Stug 3 definitely doing a lot of damage there. The armoured LMG rifles, or these armoured rifles, sorry, they can creep up and maybe get a Zuka shot in. The Fallschirm Panzerabwehr should spot them, but that may not stop the armoured rifles from getting into range. It really depends on Scholar's reactions, and I think due to that being one of the only Stugs he has on the map, he was able to react to that quite quickly. But once again, we have a similar situation to the last game, where Inhari has like so many units on the map, whilst Scholar has pretty much nothing. Yet Inhari is refusing to go aggressive. And I think that's probably one of the differences between like a good player and a great player, is like knowing how to use aggression to your advantage. Because if you get aggressive carelessly, kind of like Inhari did with the like Abrams, then you will get punished. But if you get aggressive at the right time, when you know you've killed something that is of worth, so either an AT gun or like a tank in general, like generally there's not 2 tanks in the same place unless you've let them build up over time. So you know that if you kill this Stug, for example, that there's not going to be much defense in your way. And then all you got to do is just walk forwards with your infantry, with some recon infantry as well, and then bring up the tanks behind them. Simple as that. You won't get caught out because your recon infantry should spot the Fallschirm Panzerabwehr. Like the Stug 3 is dead, so the Stug 42 can just die to your AP tanks. I mean, it's just as simple as that, really. ME-109 G6R6, that's going to come in and try and take on the B-26B Marauder. B-26B will be starting to fall back here, and it will fall back right over the 50 cals again. So I don't think this ME-109 is going to be able to find the kill. It might do, actually, because of the way in which the B-26B is flying. P-38, that's going to come in and engage the HS-129B1. Apologies for that, guys. I was just interrupted during my recording. But either way, let's carry on. P-38 going to be trying to shoot down this HS-129B1. This game's been a bit of a fiesta anyway, so let's just see what happens here. Can the ME-109 G6R6 take down the P-38? It should be able to. And by doing so, we'll have taken down 2 for the price of 1. Well, I don't think any planes of Scholars went down, so a nice kill. Nice couple kills. B-26, P-38 finally punishes the airplay that Inhari was making. Stug 3 though, that's going to take care of the M4 on the top side. So Inhari's aggression, just too slow, being punished for it. M18 Hellcat tries to come around the corner to a faced Stug 3 and gets killed. Now Inhari is going to be bringing in an M5 gun. And that's going to try and engage these tanks, and honestly is quite a good choice because it's very difficult for Inhari to, or for Scholar to find this M5 gun, especially if it moves through the tree line here before it engages. Yes, this Fallschirmjager might be able to spot it first, but that really depends. Now there is no reason why this 380mm off map here needs to be this close if it wants to put the strike here. That needs to get the hell out of Dodge. Get behind this tree line. Just be somewhere that you can't be seen. In general, you don't want your off map to be spotted, because if it is spotted, then your opponent should be moving away from where it thinks it's going to be dropping. And the second shot there takes out the Fallschirmjager. We'll have to see where the remaining shots land. Inhari is going to start to move his M5 gun back. And it is going to end up in line of sight of the Stug 3. Can the emergency off map save the day? No, it cannot. It does manage to direct hit the cavalry scouts, but the Stug 3's gone down. Emergency off map may be quicker, but it is almost always worse. In this case, another direct hit onto armored LMG rifles is pretty lucky. We'll have to see if the second round of emergency off map can get the job done. Now I'm just looking at this, guys. Just send these 2 engineers forwards, if anything, to see if there is any infantry here at all. Because if there is not, there is no reason why this M4A1 should not be trying to go across the bridge and kill the Stug 42 at close range, especially with the Stug 3 in this position. Because the Stug 3 is going to find it very difficult to get a clean shot onto like an M4 if it just fast moves into the face of the Stug 42. Simple as that. On the bottom side, emergency off map, surprisingly enough, not really hitting too much. Stug 42, however, did go down to the M5 gun. Oh, there we go. M5 gun does get killed. Nice lucky shot there for Scholar. Stug 42. Now going to be engaging armoured rifles on the top side. Another Stug 42 has arrived, but I believe at this point Inhari is just slowly but surely going to find himself the victory because of this bridgehead on the bottom side, which is being held currently by an M20 commander and an armoured rifle unit. HS-129, that's going to come in and try and clean up the M20 command, but ideally we want to kill the M18 Hellcat. If Scholar was paying attention there, he could have gone for a kill onto the M18 Hellcat straight away. Double P-38 Lightning coming from Inhari, and they were starting to strafe the Pak-38. Now we see Scholar come in with the ME-109s, and he's going to shoot down the second P-38 there. Sorry about the camera. It doesn't want me to zoom in on the edge of the map, so it's a bit dodgy. I have to kind of follow one of the aircraft if I want to follow that. But Scholar finds himself a couple of P-38 kills because Inhari was just as careless as Scholar was with that HS-129. Stug 42, that's going to go down nice and easy. Stug 3 being very aggressive on the top side. I think at this point Scholar is just throwing his units away because he knows that he needs to make a lot of ground in order to win, but he doesn't really have much of a chance of doing so, especially if you are fast moving and not attack moving. The Stug 3 here, just probably dead. There we go. So with all of the Stug 42s now dead and the Stug 3 dead, surely no reason for Inhari to not be aggressive at this point. I'm actually going to speed up the end of this game because it is just taking way too long. HS-129B1 comes in, takes out the Hellcat on the top side. The Stug 42 goes down to the armoured rifles, which he knew were there because they killed his Fallschirmpanzer. Finally, Inhari comes across the river, finds just one mortar in the Kubel, and we see the ME-109 trying to take down the B-26B Marauder. So, does manage to find that kill eventually. Not a single piece of AA on the side of Inhari. Has been relying on the use of 50 cals entirely. As soon as one was brought in, it was killed off by the HS-129B1. M3 half-track going to be coming in and killing off the sharpshooter, and, well, the ME-109 tries to go for the kill onto the P-38, but doesn't quite find it. M12 GMC going to hit the flak 38, but that is a +3, and Inhari finds himself the victory after 39 minutes and 54 seconds. He does get to the 2,500 points, so congratulations to Inhari. But what a painful game to watch that was. I did not enjoy that one very much, if I'm completely honest. So many mistakes on both sides. Just way too many mistakes. Throwing away units carelessly without recon on both sides. Poor airplay across the board. It's not often that I do get really frustrated watching a game. But that was something else. Inhari probably just winning due to the 4th Armoured being a better division overall in terms of value for money on units than the 3rd Fallschirmjager. That is probably the only reason he won. In general, I feel like Inhari needs to be more aggressive, but aggressive in a smart way with recon first, infantry second, tanks third. Just make sure that they are attack moving forwards. And Scholar needs to start using attack move for start, and just making sure that he doesn't lose units unnecessarily by not providing recon again and just using airstrikes efficiently. You can't let the B-26B fly around for 20 minutes when you're playing a 3rd Fallschirmjager. No reason why that should happen. The ME-109 should have come in, 2-star ME-109, don't know where they were. Should have come in, got down that B-26B, and that should have been the end of it. Then Inhari would have really have touched his air force for the rest of the game, because he would have known that he would likely get countered by the ME-109s had he tried. And that would have also forced him to invest into AA, which would then make Scholar's easier, or Scholar's job easier on the ground. So there we go. Either way, I would go through the kills, but it is just an absolute fiesta. Not really much to say. How an armoured LMG rifles kills this many forces, I do not know. That is 4 units of Fallschirm Pioneers, 2 Fallschirm Panzerdirects, a Fallschirmjäger and a Fallschirmjäger. How that happens, I do not know. The Kubel 380mm Moth map got killed on the top side after firing 1 strike by a Bantam. In terms of losses, well, some of the Fallschirmjägers did go 3 for 1 on the rifles, which is nice. Pak-41 Gerlichs, they were used okay. I'm not going to lie. The Pak-41 Gerlichs, they did well. And the L6s were a good choice for the situation that Scholar was in. But other than that, I feel like the rest of this game was just each player throwing units at each other and hoping for the best. Like, no strategy whatsoever. It was difficult to watch. But hopefully you guys, and Inhari and Scholar if you're watching, just hopefully you can pick up some tips from this. That's what I try to do when I see these plays. I just try and mention what is likely the best thing to do in that situation, because it is very difficult to understand from my perspective what you guys are trying to do. But that is it. That is where I'm going to leave it, and I hope I don't sound too patronizing. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.